Why do you need to provide your social security to game in Korea? So Korea, simple answer is because of China. Long-winded answer is the culture. And I could probably expand on that. So in Korea, the gaming culture is extremely old and it's been around for longer than anywhere else. The esports was actually started in Korea, so PC gaming has a different sentiment towards the population and the Korean people than they do anywhere else. Whether it's StarCraft or any other game that existed prior to the 2000s, esports has been around. It has been around and has been a thing in Korea for so long, and you can see that play out in any type of esports tournament, as long as it's not FPS. Western European countries and Western people tend to be really good at FPS, but anything else like League of Legends, StarCraft, stuff like that where strategy is involved, not real-time reaction, these games are dominated by the Korean people. So the Korean people, to Korean people, esports isn't a game. It's almost like a job and a second life. But when people play Maplestory in Korea, they take it very seriously, almost like a second life. And I think that plays into how well established the community is in KMS, which ripples into other aspects of the game that Westerners might not really incorporate into their game in GMS, which is party-centric game style, looking for efficient ways to train, essentially creating a culture hub and a community within the game where there's more emphasis on character customization, letting your personality show, stuff like that. So when you have Chinese bots and Chinese players that come and ruin the game in a sense by botting and hacking and also bringing their huge population into Mapleland, it messes up the in-game economy, in-game structure of the game, right? So in order to combat that and in order to create stability within the game and a stable economy, just social stability and everything, server stability, they put a lot of elements to keep foreigners, not just the Chinese, but also the Indians, the Westerners, anybody out other than Koreans themselves. They're kind of like they really are like a hermit kingdom. They like to be close-knit and packed, and they like to stay the game. They like to keep the game amongst themselves, let's just say. They don't like other people coming in and ruining overpopulating the game and messing with the game economy and botters and merchants, and they just want to have it to themselves. Is providing your social security a legal requirement, or is it a game provider's requirement? It's turning into, it used to be just a requirement to play the game from the game side, but because of the path that South Korea is on right now with the new elected president, they're slowly turning into China in a way where a lot of things, and even messenger apps like Kakao Talk, you need to provide your social security. It's getting monitored. They're trying to, it's kind of like the government is kind of slowly making it a requirement that you verify yourself, whether it's like facial recognition or whatever, so you have a digital footprint in everything you do online. It's slowly turning into that. But initially, when the Maplestory first came out in the early 2000s, it was just a requirement on the game side. You wanted to create an account, you needed to verify yourself, and the one way they could do that the only way was through social, like not the only way, because you could, like here in the West, back in the day, you could sign up to a game just by making an account and you didn't need to provide anything. But nowadays you have to kind of provide your phone number, your email, and you have multiple ways that you need to verify. And essentially, like, it's all the same now. You have to verify using Face ID for a lot of things. It's like a safety measure. The way they present it is like a next level safety feature, and we all accept it. We move on from it, and we kind of go along with how the world is moving. And I think every country is going through that right now, where you have to provide more and more identification, and you have to provide more credentials to exist online. It's just, you have to do it in a way where it doesn't upset people, because if you are not careful, especially here in the West, they look at that as an invasion of privacy, invasion of all sorts of like personal privacy and stuff. And we don't like giving away our personal data, but we still do it. I mean, every time I log into an app, it's scanning my face to make sure it's me. You know, we just have to kind of go along with the time and not be left behind. And Korea is doing the same thing. They're doing facial recognition. You have to provide your social security number. You have to get your computer authenticated. You have to provide, there's a layer of verification that needs to happen, where it's in the realm of like, is it an invasion of your privacy? Maybe, but does it provide an extra layer of security? Yeah. So my thought process on the whole facial recognition, Korean social security, phone number, providing all this and that to exist in the digital space, I just think, like, if you're not doing anything illegal or anything crazy, you got nothing to worry about. So I just kind of go along with the time. I used to be very anti on the opposite side of the spectrum, where, oh, why do you need to scan my face for me to log into my bank? Why do you need to scan my face to play a video game? Why do I need to provide my social security just to look at my bank statements or whatever it is? But, you know, at the end of the day, your data is already all in the ether. And if people really wanted to do harm, I'm sure people could hire a hacker or professionals that can look into your information anyway and track you and really mess with you. But part of that feels like I'm living in a universe of fear, and it's limiting my ability to live in the current time. So I kind of switched my mindset and really just started thinking that it's already out there anyway. No matter how hard I try to prevent my data from going out or leaking or whatever, if someone wanted to, they could really look me up, you know? And anybody could look anybody up. And you just gotta have faith in humanity. It's just like, I look at it kind of like driving in real life too. If you have that much fear that you're gonna be targeted by some sort of a cyber attack or some sort of a cyber crime, or like you're worried that the government is gonna misuse your personal information, I think you need to have the same level of skepticism and same level of worry for going out to drive on an everyday basis. You probably have a higher chance of getting hit. You probably have a higher level and higher chance of getting hit by another car doing your job, especially like one of my viewers here. He's a truck driver and he puts himself in harm's way every day. And what's a more imminent threat, that you're gonna get targeted by a cyber attack, or that you're gonna get hit by a car by some dude that's on his phone or driving drunk, whatever it is. So, is providing your social security a legal requirement, or is it a game provider's requirement? I mean, it's essentially gonna be both soon enough. Right now, it's not a legal requirement per se from the country or the government, but it will be sooner or later, because of how much the new world is moving towards existing in the digital realm and how much money can be generated in the digital ecosystem and digital ecoverse, I guess. Social Security is the most sensitive info in Canada. If that info gets leaked, you find yourself in financial harm. Right. Yeah, Social Security here in the States too is the most sensitive information that you do not want to get leaked. But you know who has all my Social Security information? The government. You know who has my Social Security information and hasn't got leaked? The games that ask me. Well, the Korean, when I used to play, when I was a Korean citizen back in the day, you have to provide your Social Security to play any type of video game in Korea. I mean, thoughts on social credit in China? Social credit, right? That's like how well you are behaving. You get a credit score based on your behavior, not your financial ability or your financial literacy. Well, it is a little dystopian, but I think we are kind of stuck in the paradigm, and we are stuck looking at that system through the lens of Westerner, because I hear that quality of life in China is not that bad. The issues that we have here, that we go through in the West, as an American or as a Canadian or as a European, I'm on the side of we all have difficulty that's subjective to our experience, whether we exist in the Eastern Hemisphere or the West, whether we exist in a government that is a little bit more involved than not involved. I love United States, don't get me wrong. I love the country and I love the capitalistic, I'm more capitalist and I love capitalism, but there's definitely cons to that ideology and way of living, where it definitely has its pros. So I look at it through the lens of the problems that exist. It's not a one-to-one comparison, right? The things that we have a hard time here, maybe they don't, because they're more in unison, because there's a strong hand. There's a strong hand called the CCP, the Chinese government, that keeps people within a certain framework of thinking, whereas here in the West, our individual liberty and freedom is valued a lot more, despite the chaos that it can bring. When you have so many people thinking because we value individual liberty and freedom, and our freedom of speech is so highly valued here, that brings an element of chaos, because everybody wants to have something to say, everybody wants to say something, everybody wants to be heard, they have an opinion about everything. And I think what keeps this country great and keeps it together is the people that have a strong religious background and religious foundation that grounds people with the same morality. Everybody understands, because this is a Christian nation, and still, even till this day, although Christianity is dying out, unfortunately, due to the Christian religion being the main religion that exists in the United States, everybody has a clear understanding of what's good and bad. And I felt this more when I recently watched a podcast with Lex Friedman and what's his name, Paul, I believe his name is Paul something. And he was showing a world first, never seen before clip of people, uncontacted tribes, and he's telling the story. And it really makes you wonder, how do we even have the idea of what's good and bad? How did we get so lucky, I guess, to be born in an era where people have a general understanding and people have a general clear agreement on what they should do and what they shouldn't do? Because I saw that clip of Uncontacted Tribe, and these guys are savages. I mean, the stories that they tell of these uncontacted tribes and what they do to you if you come into their land. There is no language, there is no communication. If they hear you and they perceive you as a threat, because everything around them already is a threat, because they live in the jungle, these guys will shoot you and kill you on sight. And they use arrows to shoot monkeys off of trees that are 100 meters up in the sky, up in the air. They have really good precision. They use bamboo trees, and they use bamboo bow and arrows from bamboo, and they have such good accuracy and precision that they could be very far away and still hit you dead in the head. And I'm just listening to this with my wife, and we just have, we think about a lot of things. It makes you think, like, we are very grateful to be born in an era where our ancestors have gone through that difficulty and have established have laid out the groundwork and established something fundamental that keeps people unison to not go to the point of being savages to one another. Now, if the whole economy collapses, I'm sure people will become exactly that, savages, fighting for food, fighting to keep their family together. Let me just accept the quest real quick. Can't read this. Leprechaun. It wants me to kill Leprechaun. Okay. These quests are so long. 리폰 현상금 사냥꾼 이거구나. I think about all those things, and we are very blessed to be born in an era where things are a lot more stable and we don't have to be like savages in the Amazon, and I think I started this point because someone asked me, like, what is my thought of, Daspel asked me thoughts on social credit in China, and I think it's just a different way to manage a huge population of people so they don't get out of line. It's to create unison, and I think that hand has to be gentle but firm at the same time. And I have that mentality for anything in life. You have to find the perfect balance of being firm but delicate. It's almost like a father figure, right? The iconic image of a father, of God. He's demanding of you to be responsible and to do something great. And he can be harsh, but at the same time, he's loving. It's a form of love that you don't get from a mother. It's a form of love that only a father figure can give you. And I think if you do it in the correct way, instead of looking at how China rules its people, how China governs its people, you can learn a lot from how they do it. And look, I'm speaking as someone who lived in Korea, and if China's on the way of if China and US are on a spectrum and they're on the opposite side, Korea kind of sits in the middle of that spectrum. Like, here's China, here's Korea, here's US. Korea kind of sits in the middle on how they govern people. They have way higher taxes than US. Their government is a little bit more involved in everyday people's lives, but it's not to the point where there's like social credit like China does. And on the US, it's the complete opposite, right? There's so much freedom and liberty, and people don't want to violate that, because look, once you give, I totally understand each side, and I think once you understand once you kind of get enough life experience and understand that neither one are bad and you can kind of understand why each country does it the way it does, you ultimately come to the conclusion that it's very hard, and it's very hard to govern millions, if not billions of people in your country to make sure it doesn't turn into a complete chaos. And I think that's why when President Trump goes to China or talks about China, he says there's a lot of respect he has for Xi Jinping. And I have to agree, you know, maybe his way of governing and his ideology doesn't sit well with me, and you know, I don't have to agree with everything, but you have to give respect where respect is due. Governing billions of people and thriving and bringing the country out of poverty and making sure people are staying in a line for what's better, for to have a country that's prospering. So for the collective good, because they really like to, Korea and China, all these Eastern Asian countries like to operate as a collective, as a collection. And for the collective good of humanity and for the collective good of that country, you have to govern a little bit more strict and tight. And in the West, there's a lot of individualism, individual freedom and liberty, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and all these things. It works in its own way, but it doesn't at other parts. So that's what I think.